and welcome to tonight's A Better Life episode. Tonight's topic, exercising your right to ignore. Now, how did I come to the topic of exercising your right to ignore? So there are a number of situations that happen in our lives on a daily basis that are negative, to which we divert our attention and focus, when really it's not conducive to a productive life. It's not conducive to a better life. And so those situations may be somebody that's talking about you, a friend who's disappointed you, a family member who's disrupted the flow of your life. Just a number of things that may happen on your job or just in your daily life. And one of the things that I've learned to do for myself over the last couple of years is exercise my right to ignore. If it is not directly tied to my destiny, to my success in life, and it's negative, I give it very little to none of my attention. A couple of years ago, I was reminded of this as I was preparing for this. A friend of mine, a person called me and said, "Hey, have you seen this blog about you online?" And so she goes on to start explaining to me about how people were saying things online about my name and how it's ghetto, and she's just cracking up laughing at this conversation that she's having basically with herself, because I wasn't laughing. But she didn't realize that I wasn't laughing because she was so caught up in the moment of making me feel bad about something that she'd read about me online. She wasn't calling me to say, "Oh, I defended you." She was calling because it was humorous to her, and it wasn't humorous at all to me. And so when I hung up the phone with her, I was just absolutely all upset. Not about the name, because I've lived with that for 30 something, almost 40 years. And so not about the name, but really more so about her calling me with that negativity. And I brooded over it for a couple of days, and then finally I just came to the point and said, you know what happened on that blog, what she's saying has absolutely nothing to do with the forward progress of my life. It's negative, and right now I'm going to exercise my right to ignore because it's taken up too much of my time. And so that's what I want to encourage you to do tonight, is to exercise your right to ignore the chatter, to ignore the noise, to ignore people who are seeking to bring detriment and defamation into your life, and focus on those things that are good and those things that are positive. When we look at 1 Samuel, when Saul was appointed king, the people didn't want him to be king when he got back home. And so one of the things that's in the scripture is that Saul paid them no attention. One translation says he chose to ignore them because he knew that the role and the position and the forward progression of his life was not tied to what people thought about him. It was more so tied to how he demonstrated his ability to move forward in that situation and fulfill the responsibility of the plan that had been laid out before him. And that's what I want you to consider, is that when you get into these situations where you feel like you have to respond to every naysayer, you got to respond to every critic, it's taking up time and energy. And one of another thing is this quote that I live by: never argue with the fool, because an onlooker might not know the difference. Which basically means when you get into a situation where you're going back and forth with somebody, either online, either in conversation, or anywhere, and you just are back and forth word for word because you got to have the last word. If somebody walks up that doesn't know what's going on, they don't know which one of y'all is stupid. So, but when you exercise that right to stay to ignore, not only does it speak volumes to your maturity, but it also speaks to the Christ that lives inside of you. And so you have to recognize that every critic doesn't deserve a response. The only response that you owe anyone is to love them. And so one of my mantras in life is that if I can outlove my critics, I can outlast their criticism. And that's true. And I found that to be true because criticism is going to go away. It may take some time, but it's going to go away. There are some things that are said about me on a daily basis. I give them no thought. I give them no attention, because it doesn't matter in the end result of things. The things that you should be focusing on in life are the people that are present, the people that are available, the people that encourage you, the people that enlighten your life, the things that you want to do to make yourself better. And when you're focusing your attention on things that don't matter, then you're wasting valuable time that could be used to progress you a little bit further in life. And then by the same token, I want to take this just a step further to say, we have these examples of people in our life that we live our lives because we find them to be dynamic personalities. We find them to be influential. We find them to be successful in what they're doing. We find them to be encouraging to us that we too can strive, and if we work hard enough, we'll be able to attain the same level of success. And what I would say to that is, don't get yourself caught up in a situation where you cause your Christ-like example, the light that you should be giving, the light that should shine from you, to be diminished because you get into a situation where you are now not defending yourself but defending the actions of somebody else, and then you look like a fool too because you don't know. You know your example by what they want you to see in them, unless you're up close and personal. There's 4 people in this world that I can defend without any type of recourse and know that I'm absolutely right because I live with them 24 hours a day. That is my husband and my 3 children. Anybody else, I can't account for what you're doing. I don't run to the defense of people that I'm not around 24/7 because you know what? I could absolutely be wrong. What I see of you on a daily basis may not at all be who you are behind closed doors or who you are when you're not around me. So my encouragement to you is to make sure that when you're living your life, that you're living your life in such a way that it doesn't diminish the Christ that's inside of you, that it doesn't cause you to lose that ability to minister to someone else because they saw you acting out either in defense of yourself or in defense of someone else, and that caused them to turn away from the light that should be shining from you. In all things, there's only one thing that is good and perfect, and that is Jesus Christ. So if you're not defending him, then everything else just fall by the wayside. One of the things that we know for certain is that God is not going to ever cause the righteous to be brought to shame. So there may be some moments where, you feel like I'm under attack and people don't understand me. It's okay. We all go through these periods of time and progression, and time will tell the story of his goodness in your life, where those people who were wrong in how they viewed you, who were wrong in what they did to you, will look back and say, I should have treated her better because she was on her way to doing something good, and I want to be a part of that. I should have treated her right because she was on the path. The disruption that I caused in her path didn't sway her from becoming all that she needed to be. I should have treated him better because, as he was just striving to be what he knew to be at that time, and I didn't nurture that in him. Instead, I was negative towards him. So, that's one of the things that you just need to be forever cognizant of, is that don't allow anyone or anything, any situation, any bad thought to keep you from reaching all that God has in store for you. So we're out of time for tonight, and I just want to encourage you that, as you walk through life, there's going to be stones that are thrown in your path. You got to learn how to step over them, ignore that, and keep your eye on the goal, which is that, the path. You can use those stones to build your path, but don't allow them to cause you to become distracted or diverted, or allow that plan to become dismayed because you lost focus on what the end goal was. So, of course, these conversations are about us working together and discussing together a better plan and a better purpose for our lives, and realizing the life that God has in store for us, and knowing that no matter what comes our way, no matter what challenges we face in life, that God's plan and God's purpose for us is a better life. So stay ready. Thank you for joining us tonight. I hope that you'll join us next week for more Better Life Conversations. Have a good night. Don't forget to order your Stay Ready t-shirts. Your purchases and gifts support the outreach efforts of New Era Works Foundation. I want to hear from you, so email me at KermesheaEvans@gmail.com or message me on KermesheaEvans.ning.com or Facebook. Every month we'll open up the mailbag and confidentially, without mentioning your name, discuss the items that you send to me that are important to you. As always, you can continue the conversation at KermesheaEvans.ning.com. We'll post the archives from the show, and I've included some additional information for you there. Thank you for joining. I'll see you next week. Have a great night.